2, 3, 4.
What is up, J-Lex familia?
Amiguis, you asked for it, and today I am going to be delivering to you el puro chisme. Today I am going to be telling you guys a full detailed story about my childhood in Mexico and my experience with a bruja. This story is based on true events. Yesterday I was on the phone all day with my family members trying to collect information to bring this story for you guys. I have put names, timelines, and events from testimonies of things that happened. Let's get into this video. If you guys are new to my channel, my name is Haley. Welcome, amiguis. So if you guys are not subscribed, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so that you guys can keep up with my latest video. I have a lot to tell you. The things that I found out were creepy. So before I get into my personal experience con esta bruja, I have to tell you guys information that I recently found out. This story takes place in a little town in Mexico that I was born in, Tierra Blanca. This lady, her name is Margarita, literally lived at the end of the street. So we lived in one corner and she lived in the other corner of the block. In the early 1990s, she used to live with her husband, Francisco, and their 2 kids. I never was able to find out the kids' name. My grandma met this family and she thought that they were really good people. He would go to work and she would stay home to take care of the kids. As the years went by, one day Francisco and his daughter vanished and the townspeople began to gossip. One of those assumptions was that Margarita had gotten into brujeria, witchcraft, and that she enjoyed the power it gave her so much that she even went as far as to sell her soul to the devil for certain gifts that normal people, regular people like you and me, aren't capable of doing. At that time, when her husband was still with her, her husband found out what Margarita was doing and he became terrified of his wife, of what she had become and what she would be capable of doing. It is said that after Francisco found out what his wife was doing, he waited for the perfect moment when Margarita was not in the house and he took his daughter and ran. When this happened, Margarita was in the town with her younger son. So the dad basically sacrificed his son to save the one child that he could, because he didn't think that he would ever get the chance to run away safely. My grandmother says that when people started to realize that Francisco and his young daughter were gone, shit began to get crazy. In a small town like that, if anything happens to anyone, everyone finds out about it. The authorities were called to investigate why Francisco and his young daughter were missing. The thing here that I question is, why is it that when the town people found out, the authorities were called? Why is it that Margarita was never the one to do it herself, being that her husband and her young daughter were missing? But I didn't find an answer for that, because my grandma said that she found out when the town people found out and then the authorities found out. The authorities ended up going to Margarita's house to check what was going on, and in fact there were clothes missing. Francisco and his daughter's clothes were missing, and they ruled it as he ran away with his daughter because there was nothing in the house that led to a struggle or somebody was hurt. So they basically ruled it as the easiest thing, which was he ran away with his daughter because he probably didn't want his wife anymore, and that was that. I love Mexico. I want to go back someday, but the reality of it is that there is a lot of things going on over there that the authorities do not care about. And I'm only saying that because I recently found out about some more tea that I will be dropping for you guys in another video, and you guys, it's hot. So if you guys are not subscribed, make sure that you guys do subscribe and turn on your notifications because it's coming up next. And yes, it is based on true events. the authorities literally said, well, you know, he probably ran away. There's nothing here. Da 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 da. Let's be done. But that was not the end of it. Not for Margarita. Now remember that at this time, I wasn't even born yet. But my mom's family, they said that yes, they heard the rumors, but they never paid attention to it. Even though they weren't that close to Margarita, the authorities' statements were enough to kind of put their worries to rest. So that is Margarita's story. And now we are going to fast forward to the year 1996, the year where I was born. This is where shit starts getting real and very, very, very creepy. When I was talking to my mom about this yesterday, she was literally telling me, like, be very careful with what you say and how you say things. Don't go digging for things that you don't want to find, because you will find them. Like, no, I don't want no evil or anything like that. It is extremely scary when you're on the phone with your grandma, you're on the phone with your mom, you're on the phone with your oldest brother, and they're telling you, like, we lived this, we've seen this, we've witnessed this happen, because I don't remember a single thing about what I'm about to tell you. My mom gets shocked. She's like, ¿No te acuerdas? Like, you don't remember? Like, it's bizarre que no te acuerdes. But I don't. Let's continue. Amiguis, are you scared? I'm a little scared. I'm gonna open this door porque para sacar la mala vibra, no? I don't want to feel too alone. Open all the goddamn doors because a bitch is scared. Like, have you guys ever heard like testimonies from people and like, you're just like freaked out, like, what? In December 14 of 1996, I was born, bitch. A gift to the world. In early 1998, my family left Tierra Blanca to come to America. Then later on, in 2001, my grandfather sadly passed away, which caused my mother to leave America and go back to her town. My mom left America with me, my older brother, and my sister. My dad stayed here in America because somebody had to work. My mom always tells me that that same year I was 4 turning 5, she ran into Margarita. That day, my mom took me to the little city in our town where people go to get like food and supplies, and we were coming back home after being done over there, and we ran into Margarita on the street. Margarita was riding on a wooden carriage with a burro and her son, and Margarita was coming this way. My mom and I were walking this way because Margarita's house was right here and our house was right here. In between, there was a church. My mom said that when Margarita passed her with the carriage, everything suddenly stopped. Everything became like an awkward, weird silence. Because if you guys play any type of footage with a horse or a donkey in a wooden carriage on a dirt road, it sounds like... And as soon as Margarita was out of my mom's peripherals, everything went silent. It was almost as if Margarita had stopped. But my mom was like, I thought about it, and she was not even close enough to her house to stop. And Margarita was a loner, so she didn't talk to the rest of the neighbors. There was no reason for Margarita to stop. So my mom's curiosity got the best of her. My mom was walking, and she said that when she felt that awkward, weird silence, that she turned around to look. Oh my God, I'm getting scared. I'm getting goosebumps. Do you guys see that? My mom said that she turned around and what she saw was Margarita looking straight back at her, but not in a way a normal person would look back at you. Her head did a whole 180, and my mom swears to this day that those shoulders were facing straight forward. At that moment, my mom said that she had the strangest feeling, almost like a nothingness, like she zoned out, but she was looking straight at Margarita. And you would think that somebody that had just seen something like that would be terrified. And then she said that Margarita grinned, like she showed her teeth, and they were like the most hideous teeth she had ever seen. She described them as beastly, but at that moment it was as if she had returned to herself. The panic and like the fear like struck her. So then she said she literally grasped my hand and ran all the way to my grandmother's house. My mom told my uncles, my aunts, my grandmother, and they basically just brushed it off. They were thinking that maybe, you know, because of like my grandfather's passing and the stress and like my dad not being there, my mom probably like mistook something and like she thought that she saw it, but she didn't really see that. So after that happened with Margarita, my mom said that that was where I began to tell her that I could see people that had already passed away, my grandfather being one of them. And she said that at first she believed that it was just me trying to cope with the fact that my grandfather had passed away, so she didn't really think anything of it. But she did say that it kind of would creep her out sometimes because I could be doing like simple little things like watching TV or eating cereal, and I would tell her like, you can't see them, like they're right here with us, like look, like he's right there. So some time went by after my mom had that encounter with Margarita outside of the church, and this next event is a testimony from my oldest brother, who is now 32 years old, but at the time he was around 12, 13, I want to say. At this point in our lives, my grandma had given my mom a tiendita, which is basically like a little store, and we were living in the back of the tiendita. So they cleaned out that storage place in the back of the tiendita, they put a bed and a TV, and that was basically where we lived. It was right next to my grandmother's house, so we still lived in the same street as Margarita. So my brother says that one night he woke up to screaming and he was terrified. He tried to wake up my mother because we all slept in that same little storage space, and he said that it was the hardest thing to do. It was like she was like weirdly knocked out, like he could not wake her up, and all he kept hearing in the dark was screaming. He had just woken up, so he couldn't really tell what was going on, but after his eyes adjusted to the dark, he realized that one of us was missing, me. The door to the storage place stayed open because the breeze was the only thing cooling us off, but that door didn't lead to the street. There was another gate that led to the street that remained locked, and my brother said that when he realized that I was the one missing and he could not get my mother up, that he decided to go investigate. He summoned up his little courage and he started walking towards the opened door. He didn't even get to walk outside when he said that I stormed inside, running and yelling, crying. I ran past him, tripped, and hit something. My mom woke up and all he saw was me on the floor, bleeding, crying. And then my mom was like, what is going on? Like, imagine waking up from your sleep, your kids on the floor crying for you, bleeding, and you couldn't wake up. My brother filled my mom in briefly as to what was going on, and my mom said that I kept yelling and screaming and telling her that somebody was after me. And that night, they never found out exactly where I was or how long I had been gone from my bed. I forgot to mention that when I fell, I busted my mouth. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have a scar right here of where it happened. That's what that is. That incident scared my mom so much. She grabbed all three of us and she went to my grandmother's house that was right next door. But before that, she said that she realized that our gate, the one that actually leads to the street, was locked. So I was inside the whole time. So after that happened, some time went by. But then I told my mom that I saw this guy walk past our tiendita and he was missing an arm. Not only that, one of his eyes was white, and that's when my mom put one and one together and she realized that this was not a game anymore. This was not something that she could ignore, because I had just described a family friend who lived up the street in a corner who was murdered by his wife. He happened to be blind, and on top of that, people claimed that the wife was cheating on him and that her and her side piece ended up chopping this man up, and then they ran away. It was like he was still lingering in his neighborhood, and that was the moment that my mom realized something else was going on here. So after that incident, some time went by. Things kind of like started being okay and normal again, to the point where my mom decided to stay in Mexico and live there because, like I told you guys, my grandfather passed away, and that was the reason why my mom decided to come back to Mexico in the first place. She said that she did not want to spend her life in America knowing that her family was in Mexico and people were just passing away without her being there. What my grandmother did is she gave my mother that little tiendita right next to her house, and basically she was like, here you go, stay here, you can live here, you can have the tiendita, it will be a nice little income for you extra from what your husband is already sending you. My dad was okay with the idea because he was fine with just coming to Mexico and visit if that's what my mother wanted. So my dad started sending money to Mexico to my mom so that she could build a house for us right there on top of La Tiendita. The house was under construction, so we could not live there while it was being built, but we were living at the time with my grandmother. At my grandmother's house, we had a little bedroom for all four of us: my mom, me, my older brother, and my little sister. And one night my mom put us to sleep, and it was just the kids in the room, and she said that when it was time for her to go to bed, she walked to the room and the lights were off, but the windows were open, because in Mexico that is literally your AC, that you gotta let the breeze in or you're gonna cook yourself in your house. At least that was the case at that time. So when my mom was ready to go to bed, she walked to the room. There was a tree branch right outside our room, our window, and she said that she saw something there, and it had eyes because like there were two little circles glowing. And as she approached the window, she realized what was standing on that tree branch, and it scared the living shit out of her. She described it as a big bird with huge eyes that glowed and then a big mouth. She said the mouth literally went from one ear to the other. It was something that she's never ever seen before. Immediately she felt like an uneasy feeling, almost as if she was in danger or like something bad was gonna happen. And then out of nowhere, she said it literally grinned at her. Y'all, it grinned at her. She said that she would never forget the teeth that bird had. It was beastly, it was devilish, it was literally like the teeth she had seen when Margarita was on that wooden carriage. Her head turned 180 and grinned at her. She said it was the same damn teeth, and she screamed. She was so scared that her legs gave out on her. She didn't pass out, she was fully conscious, but her legs could no longer carry her. She couldn't even walk, she couldn't run, she just dropped, and she screamed. My grandmother was there, my uncles were there, so they ran into the room, because I mean, if somebody is screaming like that, you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, somebody needs help. But by the time that they had already gotten into the room, the bird was gone. Nobody else but my mother saw it, and that was the time that nobody could convince her that she did not see that shit. She's like, nope, I know what I saw. Don't come at me with that BS. I saw it. It was right there. My mom was like, there's something after us, and like people started talking to the point where it got to the ears of my dad's family. I'm not talking about my dad's sisters or like his mom. I'm talking about great aunts. In my dad's family, it was known that people messed with witchcraft. So then my dad's family came to talk to my mom. People my mom has never really like talked to, like she's heard of them, but she never really like had a conversation with these people, but she knew that they were somehow related to my father. And they literally sat my mom down and they were like, you might not believe what we are about to tell you, but we have heard what you have been going through, and we're here to tell you that somebody is after your child. They explained to my mom that that thing that she saw outside her window was called a nagual, which basically is una bruja that ends up selling her soul to the devil for the gift of shape-shifting into an animal. That's what my mom saw. And they heard about what was going on with that lady, and they told my mom, you gotta get her away from her. If you stay here, you will lose your daughter. And that's when my mom was like, I'm out. My dad returned to our little town, Tierra Blanca, literally just to get everything together so that we could come to America. I forgot to tell you guys what happened to Margarita. After my family left, things got bad for Margarita because the town people had found out what my mom had gone through, and people began to feel scared for their children. So soon after, people were throwing rocks at Margarita's house. So Margarita one day vanished and she never was seen again. My grandmother says her house is still standing and nobody has the balls to go in there. I wouldn't either. Would you? And like my brother remembers, my grandmother remembers, like all of that, because my mom was hysterical at one point. Like she was just going insane. And my mom gets shocked. Like my mom literally asks me like, mija, ¿en serio tú no te acuerdas de nada? And I'm like, Mom, I don't remember anything. Like I don't know what you're talking about. To be honest, you guys, like I love Mexico, and like Mexico is one of like the most beautiful places in the world, and I really do want to go back to visit, but it scares the shit out of me. In Mexico, crazy shit is happening right now, you guys. I honestly do feel like the authorities in Mexico do not care for their people. I just want to give you guys like a little brief sneak peek of what I'm going to be talking about in the next video, because it is just crazy. So if you guys don't know, this year in 2021, Mexican authority finally caught a serial killer, a man that's been killing, eating women for over 20 years. You heard me right, over 20 years, and they barely find this man now in 2021 at 72 years of age. I'm not gonna spill too much beans on it because I got a video coming for y'all on that. I'm just scared for my people because I feel like they deserve better. You might be asking like, why are you doing your makeup, Haley? Like for what? Why are you getting all dolled up? I bet you ain't going nowhere. Amiguis, you're right. I ain't going nowhere. I will be getting on Instagram today with my boo thing because we are about to drop some tea for our Instagram members only. So our Instagram members get to hear this tea firsthand before YouTube does. If you guys don't follow us on Instagram, you guys should follow us on Instagram because like I said, the tea be dropping. So I am almost done with my makeup. I am going to go ahead and add some of my favorite lashes because y'all, look at my eyelashes, y'all. They're raggedy. Oh my god. I gotta go get them filled in again. This is the actual eyelash that I'm using right now. Amis, tell me why I went so extra. I look like I'm about to go to a goddamn carnival or something. Like, look at me, like... Amiguis, if you like that story, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up because that's the only way that I know that you enjoyed the goddamn chisme. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notifications porque ya te dije. Next video, we are talking about the serial killer and what's going on in Mexico. Turn on your notifications or you might miss all the tea. Let me know down in the comments if anything crazy, anything paranormal has ever happened to you in your life or someone that you know. Let me know down in the comments to make me feel a little better. Like, I love you guys. Mírala, mírala. A whole fucking pound of makeup on the face y ya se cree the fucking queen of the world.